What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Sansom Sports Media Podcast. We're your hosts, Hunter and Michael. Mike, how you doing today?
I'm all right. It's not as frosty as it's been the last couple weeks, so we're feeling better here.
Good for you. We got another 2.5 inches of snow yesterday. I am tired of the snow and tired of the cold. It's going to hit 50 this week, so
Oh, nice.
we're gonna look forward to that. What were your thoughts on the UConn St. John's game last night?
Um, I think it was somewhat inevitable that UConn was eventually going to take a loss in league play, and this was probably the most likely spot for it to come. It just about sealed St. John's bid. It would probably take them losing the rest of their games for them to miss now, which is highly, highly unlikely. I do think once a team has been beaten in league play, if no one else is able to beat them, it's not, when it comes to, say, Villanova or Seton Hall or whatever, it isn't like this team, like UConn now went 20-0 in league play and was beating everybody by 15, 20 points, meaning they were beatable. So if no one else is able to beat them, that's going to be pretty telling.
Absolutely. Even if UConn drops another game to somebody, I think it's still just really impressive what they did. I mean, was it 11 or 12-0?
Yeah.
In conference play is absurd in and of itself. So, yeah, the Big East is down. Yes, we're going to get to that. But it is still just really impressive the start to the season. But that was a massive win for St. John's, and I did lock them. I know you haven't yet, but I went ahead. That was enough to push them over the edge for me, mainly because I don't see them losing these. They have 3 quad 3, 3 quad 2s, and 2 quad 1s left. I don't see them losing any of those quad 3 because they're all at home against non-tournament teams.
I don't know if they play a tournament team left other than Villanova.
I think
and UConn again.
They have UConn again. They have Villanova, and there's not another tournament team on the page. Seton Hall right there at the last game of the season. That is at Seton Hall. That could be a de facto play-in game for the Pirates. They may have to have it. So
I do not see Seton Hall getting in without beating either St. John's or UConn at some point.
That's fair.
Maybe Nova, but
they've already played Nova on the road though. So
yeah,
it would be a good win at home, but it wouldn't be an elite win like they.
That's why I think they have to beat either St. John's or UConn at some point.
That's fair. Looking at the rest of the Big East here, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the bid watch page. This is mine. I know, Mike, yours looks a little bit different. I did move, like I said, St. John's up to that top tier after yesterday's game. That being said, what are your thoughts?
That's pretty much how mine looks. You kind of obviously have it a lock. I think 1 win away is perfect for St. John's. I think Nova. I think I still have Gown in good shape.
Yeah. That's fair.
Because I think they may need more than 2 or 3 wins to get there.
So they're 17 in quad right now. They're 3-4 in quad 1. They do have a quad 3 loss. They only played 2 more quad 1 games. They have 4 quad 2s left.
Who have they beaten?
Wisconsin.
Okay.
Wisconsin, Pittsburgh, Seton Hall, at Butler.
See my point?
Oh, absolutely. I see your point. If you get lower on the bubble, you'll start seeing some teams that are really, really bad. I do want to see them get to 19 or 20, probably 20 wins before I would lock them. But I think if they get to 20, I'm going to have a hard time leaving them out just with how bad the teams along the bubble are.
I don't know. The resume compares pretty close to Georgia, and I hate their resume.
This is fair. Again, the issue I have with Georgia is they're going to stack losses.
Yep.
Villanova is kind of on the other side there where I don't expect.
Well, that's true. But I think almost any loss is going to put them in a little bit more trouble.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Looking at Georgia, they're 16-6 right now. So, yeah, they're good, but I don't expect them to win nearly as many games as I expect.
No, I don't either. Yeah.
And you've got resume metrics of 30 for Villanova, 43.7 for Georgia, and then 31 for predictives for Nova, and then 41 for Georgia. They both are 3-1 in quad one. They both have a quad 3 loss. Yeah, I see your point, but at the same time, that 10-point gap is enough right now to have Nova up and Georgia down. But Nova, let's say, loses to Georgetown or Xavier at home or something, and we'll have a different conversation if they drop those bad games.
Nova gives me like almost like Providence vibes from like 2 or 3 years ago, where all right, it's time to lock them, even though maybe it isn't, and then they wind up just barely getting in the tournament.
This is fair. I know you are very keen to that Providence team and how torturous it was of them. Pulling up the Torvik resume comparison, every team that has a similar resume on the page for Nova right now has gotten in the tournament with an average seed of 8. And that's from the resume side. From the predictive side, we're going to exclude 2020. Only 2 teams missed the tournament, and that was Texas in 2019 and then Clemson in 2016, so both well before the current era. More recent teams, Clemson of 2025 getting a 5 seed. So, I mean, the recent comparisons definitely tend towards them being in, but I definitely see your point. One other team, I know Butler is on the page. They're basically at a win out and get in situation. I couldn't completely get rid of them. One team, though, that I think, Mike, you mentioned maybe jumping back on your side, and I'm not quite there yet, is Georgetown.
But they have to who let's see, Georgetown's playing, who is it? Nova. They have to win that game. Yeah.
So what was bringing them back to the page for you?
So, I mean, the four wins in a row helps, obviously. But more so, I mean, their resume metrics are now kind of into like the mid 70s, which is still a ways to go. But they do have the win over Clemson. They've gotten a couple of these. They've gotten a couple of nice little road wins, not great ones, but close enough to where it's making it somewhat interesting. But they still have a ways to go.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, dropping 6 in a row there, including losses to DePaul, Seton Hall, and Creighton, really put them in a spot where I don't see it.
I think between the Nova, UConn, and St. John's game that's left on their schedule, I think they're going to need 2 out of 3, and I think they need to win everything else.
Agreed. And they get Nova and UConn back to back here. So in my opinion, by Valentine's Day, we're going to know if Georgetown's going to even compete.
Have a chance. Yeah.
I will not put them back on the page. You might see other people start tinkering them back in if they do pick up a win today. I will not do so until they beat UConn, or if they lose to UConn and then we get down to that St. John's game on the 3rd of March and they've won out, they'll be back right there on the
4 in a row. Yeah.
But a massive undertaking for the Hoyas, and I personally don't see it. Predictive metrics are in the 80s. You mentioned the resumes; they're quite a ways away, in my opinion.
I mean, I'm not even sure they'll be favored to win at Seton Hall or at Xavier, for that matter, and they're going to have to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Any other thoughts on the Big East? I mean, I do want to add, it compares closer to the WCC or the Mountain West this year. And
sure does.
I'm not saying that. I mean, the Mountain West and the WCC really are almost great comparisons. You have one really, really good team and then a couple of pretty good teams and then some bubble teams. And I mean, for the WCC, that's obviously Gonzaga with St. Mary's and then Santa Clara down there right now. And then
that's it.
Yeah. So a little less deep, obviously, but it is a good comparison tournament page-wise. When you're looking at the Mountain West, you've got 3 or 4 teams that are just really solid all along the bubble. But, I mean, it's a good comparison right now. Yes, the Big East is still better. Yes, it's closer to, I don't know, the ACC caliber of play, but it's sinking. And I'm not saying they need to go out and add teams, but the bottom of this league has to get better next year, or it's going to become Power Four in the college basketball world as well.
Yep.
And I am, again, my season tickets, I love that we get the round robin and I get to see every Big East team every year. I love that from a fan standpoint. But from a practical tournament standpoint, the Big East has to do something to strengthen the conference. And right now, teams like Butler and Xavier, Georgetown, Providence are just not getting it done. DePaul does look better. Xavier, I think this is more of a 1 year type of rebuild type of situation. So I'm not ready to like write them off as bottom feeders in the conference or anything. But I mean, like Butler, they've been doing this for how many years now? Since COVID, they just have never recovered. Providence lost Cooley. Georgetown has been irrelevant forever. And then obviously Seton Hall looks good this year, but can they sustain that? I don't know that they can.
And there's no reason for a 17-5 Nova team to be even sweating it out much at this point.
The issue with Nova is their non-conference schedule was pretty weak, and that's put them at a real disadvantage with the Big East being so bad. The reason that UConn and St. John's are similar record, obviously UConn's better, but St. John's has that similar record and is just so much better. It's just their non-conference strength was so good. They were able to pick up some solid wins, and then obviously they just beat UConn, so that helped.
And let's not forget that Nova still has to go to Creighton, Xavier, and DePaul, besides having to play UConn and St. John's too.
Yeah. And I mean, Creighton and Xavier going to be completely desperate and just looking to polish off their season with something positive. Same thing for DePaul. And I mean, maybe they come out and just do something crazy. All right, let's move to our friends in the Big Ten.
Yes.
What are your thoughts? I mean, I know the 5 locks are almost standard across the board at this point, so we won't spend a ton of time on them. Nebraska.
I locked Purdue most recently.
Perfect. Nebraska's a 2, Michigan's a 1. Illinois, Michigan State, Purdue are 2, 3 seeds. I have Illinois as my 5th overall, so right there pushing towards a 1. If they beat Michigan State tonight at Michigan State, there is a chance that you see 2 Big Ten 1 seeds on Monday for a lot of bracketologists.
I still think Illinois is behind UConn for now.
As of now, yes. But if we add another Quad 1A road win, it's going to get very close. The hiccup is going to be they played head-to-head on a neutral site. UConn has the win. So I'm going to have a hard time doing it. What's going to have to happen is Illinois is going to have to jump 2 spots. Or UConn's going to have to fall 2 spots. Because if they're side by side in almost a direct comparison, that head-to-head has to matter.
Yeah.
But with that, moving to our Wisconsin, Iowa, USCs of the world here, down to the good shape. I do not have anybody close to a lock at this point. These are all teams that could very well be on the bubble in a week if they're not careful.
Wisconsin has that huge win over Michigan, and that is the only reason why they're in good shape.
Yeah.
They need more wins, frankly.
Iowa. Wisconsin's resume is pretty clean. Both metric averages are in the 37. And then they have the Q1A road win, which is, going to age like amazing. Just 2 quad 1 wins overall, but 7-6 in quads 1 and 2. No losses outside the top 2 there. They'll be fine as long as they just keep treading water like they are. Don't take a bad loss and keep picking up a couple more wins. But like you said, what are we? Sorry, Torvik is slow this morning. 16-6. Probably need 4 more wins to feel anywhere close to a lock at this point. So maybe they start moving up towards that near lock category soon. But beat Indiana today, and we'll have that discussion.
Iowa's best wins are Indiana and Washington on the road.
Yeah.
Looking at the rest of their schedule, I feel like at some point they'll have to beat one of Purdue, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Michigan, Nebraska to make it.
Agreed. They're going to be favored. So I've got Torvik's site up right now with Iowa. Northwestern, Maryland, Purdue, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Ohio State, Penn State are their next games. They are favored in all of those. Several of those are just straight up toss-up games. but they're favored in all of them per Torvik's site. They're underdogs against Michigan and Nebraska. You win all of those games and then only lose 2, and you're absolutely making the tournament, probably moving up closer to a 5 or a 6 seed.
Yeah.
But if you drop, let's say, the Purdue, the Wisconsins of the world, you drop Nebraska and have a 3-game losing streak there in the middle, things are going to get a little hairy pretty quickly. That would leave your wins over Northwestern, Maryland, Ohio State, Penn State. That's not going to get it done. They need at least one of these games. I agree.
So let's say they go the rest of the way and they only beat Northwestern, Maryland, and Penn State. I don't think that's enough.
The only thing that might save Iowa is their metrics are absolutely amazing. I mean, I'm looking at their net of 19, which I know net doesn't really matter. But You've got a net of 19. You've got a resume metric average of 29, and then predictives of 20.7. That's going to be hard to leave out of the tournament unless they significantly drop, which if they lose a ton of games, it would drop. But I don't know that it's going to drop enough to get down below, let's say, like a Washington who's sitting there at 67 and 45. And that's the kind of drop they're going to need to drop out of the tournament, I think.
Sometimes just winning a lot of games helps.
Yeah. It's the same thing we're seeing with Villanova right now. And I mean, a little different, but it's just if you win the quantity, that'll get you in as a power
this year anyway.
Yeah. Looking at USC, I think it's another team that's in a pretty good spot. Resume metric of 24 or 34, apologies, and predictives of 47. They're 0-4 in Quadrant 1A though, which is a little bit of a headache and could be a little bit of a concern for seeding. It's not going to keep them out of the tournament. They do have the 4 Quad 1 wins, but they have Penn State, Ohio State, Illinois, Oregon, UCLA, Nebraska, Washington, and UCLA to close out the year.
USC has 2 Q1 wins.
Yes, they do. Sorry.
They are 2-4 in Q1.
2-4. I flipped them. Yep, my bad. So of their 8 games left here, they probably just need to win about 4 of them. To be realistic to get in. However, that's Penn State, Ohio State. Probably you're going to win those. You should win those 2. At least the Penn State game, yes. Oregon, yes. Washington, you should win, even though it's on the road. This isn't going to be easy. I mean, they've got Illinois, UCLA twice. Like, they're going to have to pick up a good win somewhere. And I don't know that they can necessarily.
There is a reason why I still have USC in my bubble section and not in good shape.
My good shape kind of morphs with my bubble a little bit, just to kind of give some context to listeners. I try to leave the bubble in as the teams like right there, 8 or 9 teams out. And then that good shape is, you're okay, but not necessarily perfect. Just trying to paint that bubble picture who's very close and who's got a little bit of wiggle room.
Yeah.
But I completely agree on USC being in the bubble. Moving along to UCLA. What are your thoughts on Cronin and his squad?
Man, I wish you'd stop complaining after every game.
Ever.
UCLA and Indiana now kind of have similar resumes. They both have, a couple of really good wins and not a whole lot else. But those good couple of wins are kind of carrying the day right now.
Absolutely. Both just one Q1A win. Resume metrics for Indiana and UCLA are both 47. Predictives for Indiana are 29. UCLA is 34.7. The big kicker for Indiana that I really like is, they're 2-8 in Quadrant 1, but they have no losses outside of Q1, and they're 8-8 in Quadrants 1 through 3.
The issue I have with their resume, though, is they only have 3 combined Q1, Q2 wins. I think the smallest we've seen get in is like 4, at least from a high major, side. And what's interesting about their remaining schedule is the most obvious kind of wins left on their schedule: Oregon, Northwestern, Minnesota.
Yeah.
None of them might be Q1, Q2 by the time we get there.
Yep.
So I think they're going to have to beat at least one of Wisconsin, Illinois, Purdue, Michigan State, Ohio State.
We keep coming back to this Ohio State game. This wasn't planned, but that still feels like it's going to be a play-in game. And it may just be a playing game for Indiana, and Ohio State might be clearly in by that point. I don't know.
Could be.
But IU, I mean, at Illinois and at Purdue almost have to be written as losses automatically. Michigan State at home feels like you're going to be underdogs probably, even though it's at Assembly Hall, and probably a game that you're going to be lucky to win. And then Ohio State, IU probably comes in as a little bit of an underdog, but it should be close. And you're probably just going to have to go win that if you want it. Eventually, you have to win. And that's assuming that they win their other non-Q1 games. This is brutal.
Right. So
I currently do have them in, but it's very not great.
Yeah.
Finally, we talked about Ohio State. Resume metrics of 49, predictives of 37. In a good spot, but they don't have a Q1 win. I refuse to put a team in that doesn't have a Q1 win, despite what North Carolina did last year. That being said, Michigan, USC, Virginia, Wisconsin, Michigan State, Iowa, Purdue, Penn State, Indiana. The opportunities are going to be there.
Very much so.
They don't play another Q3 game, and they have 5 Q1 games left.
Yep.
Michigan on tomorrow now is a monumental game for Ohio State. You could move up to almost good shape by beating Michigan with this. But that being said, you continue to lose these games, you get blown out, let's say, you're going to drop even further out of the bubble, maybe out of the first 4 out right now. USC, it's a home game. It's going to stay Q2. That's a massive game on the bubble.
Almost have to have.
Absolutely. That Virginia game in Nashville next Saturday is absolutely amazing. I know we've talked about a couple of games on the 14th that are going to be awesome. That is one of them that I have circled all year that I can't make it to Nashville, unfortunately, but that one is going to be really fun and very important for both teams.
Yep.
Any other thoughts? I do think that if Ohio State misses the tournament, they're probably looking for a coach. I will add that.
Ohio State, those home games against USC and Wisconsin basically have to be wins.
Yes.
You're a tournament team trying to get in. You need to beat
teams at home.
Yeah.
That's simple.
And well, they'll need to beat Penn State. I don't care if they're still barely Q2. They need to win that game.
Oh, they have to, yeah.
And obviously would help a lot at the end of the calendar if they beat Indiana. But I think they need something else.
Agreed.
Either Michigan, either Virginia. I don't expect them to beat Michigan State or Iowa on the road, but that would certainly help. Or, it's a lot to ask to beat Purdue, even though it is at home. Yeah. But they'll need something else besides Penn State, Wisconsin, USC, because that doesn't move the needle that much.
Agreed. Speaking of a team that doesn't necessarily move the needle a ton, but is still there, I wanted to touch on Washington.
Yep.
I mean, they do have good wins. They've got the win over Nevada, which is 10 spots outside of being Q1 right now. So that is something to keep an eye on if it could jump up. Nevada's played well recently. It's very possible that jumps up. At USC is their lone quadrant 1 win, which is a solid win. It's a road win. It is probably not enough, however, to get you in the tournament in and of itself. But they have a clean resume. 1-8 in quadrant 1, 4-3 in quad 2, no losses outside of there. Bringing you to a total of, you're 5, 6, 7, 7-11 in quadrants 1 through 3, which isn't going to get it done. However, closing schedule, they're at UCLA today. They host Penn State, host Maryland, Q3 and Q2. At Maryland, at Rutgers, you have to win both of those. Wisconsin, USC at home, and then at Oregon. That's not a gauntlet. We're talking about Indiana, who's playing the toughest schedule I've seen so far. And then you get this schedule, and I'm like, there's a bunch of wins here.
This kind of reminds me a little bit of Butler a couple weeks ago, where you look at the schedule outside of playing UConn and St. John's, where you're like, well, the rest of these games could all be wins. Now, doesn't mean they're going to be. Hence why Butler is very little of a factor now.
Right.
But Washington, you probably have to go 6-2, or what's their record? 12-11. They have to go minimum 6-2 to have a chance, but they probably have to go 7-1. But it's not out of the question.
And the thing is, they might be favored in all but the Oregon game on the road might be a toss-up, but other than that, they're probably going to be favored in every game.
Yeah.
Outside of the UCLA game, which I'm writing as a tentative, that's your loss. But if they finish the year 7-0, I think they get in.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
It's going to be very interesting to see what happens here with Washington. The schedule lines up very well for them.
Yes.
All right, ACC talk. Game of the day is obviously going to be Duke, North Carolina. North Carolina is a win away from a loss if they beat Duke. Now, if they lose to Duke, they may fall back to needing 2 wins. We'll see what happens. But I did lock Virginia this week. What are your thoughts on the top end of the conference there?
I think I have Virginia a win away this weekend from being a lock, which is fine.
Yeah.
Carolina, if they beat Duke this weekend, would certainly be a lock for me. Clemson is another team where it's like, what do I do with them?
Resume metrics 24, predictives at 28, 2-3 in quad 1. I mean, 7-1 in quad 2 is it's almost like a mid-major resume. Like I've seen Utah State put up resumes like this, and I'm not calling the ACC a mid-major, so please don't take it like that. But it's almost like a mid-major resume where they've got all of these Q2 wins, but nothing really at the top. But that'll probably get them in easily as a 7 or an 8 seed. They just
this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the best ones really are Georgia, SMU, Miami, and
it's here.
They're fine. They're gonna make it when all is said and done. But were they to do something stupid like, losing to Florida State at home or losing to Georgia Tech at home, it might put them in harm's way.
Things could get I mean, I still don't think they'd get past unless they lost both of those. But you're definitely there's some landmines left for Clemson for sure.
So any type of thing that they can do in the next 8 days, either beat Cal on the road, beat Virginia Tech, beat Duke on the road. Obviously, that would help a lot. Would minimize any concern, so to speak.
I mean, if they can go 2-0 against Cal and Virginia Tech before they even get to Duke, I'm going to be pretty confident that they're going to clearly make the field. I'm pretty confident they make it now, but they do need 3 wins for me to get in. And that is a minimum, like a bare minimum. So that would, I mean, if they beat Cal at Cal, that's going to be big, like you said. Virginia Tech's a Q2 game. I think at that point, I'd be comfortable with them being 1 win away. But it's definitely a close situation for sure.
Sometimes just the overall record of 19-4 does stand out.
It does. And I mean, when I am bracketing, it's hard to keep them down a little bit, even though I have to, just because that record is so good.
I mean, and this isn't like a team that's like, oh my goodness, their non-conference strength of schedule is in the 300s. It's 89. That's not bad. Their overall, which this is funny, their non-conference strength of schedule is 89, and yet their overall strength of schedule is 75, which does kind of tell you the types of teams they played in the ACC so far.
They've definitely gotten lucky. They've had 2 Q1 games in the ACC, and that's it. And that was at Syracuse and home against NC State. Outside of that, nothing. A bunch of Q3 games.
Yeah, I don't even love that I have Clemson 1 to 2 wins away from being a lock. It's just the fact that they're almost to 20 wins, and
a 20-win ACC team should make the tournament.
You would think, but this is not the world we live in right now.
That's fair. The bubble is a train wreck, though. So
yes, it is.
I don't see it being a problem. Louisville, 30th resume metrics, 16.7 predictives, 3-5 in quad 1, 4-1 in quad 2, and then undefeated outside of there. What are your thoughts on the Cardinals? I think they're in a really good spot. They're healthy and hopefully trending in the right direction.
Who would have thought that a team that scheduled Kentucky, Indiana, beat them, Cincinnati, Memphis in non-conference would be not a shoo-in yet. They're gonna get there, but it's just unbelievable.
It really is. Looking at it, I mean, if you remember Auburn's resume from I think it was 2 years ago when they played a bunch of really good names and it was just a terrible schedule.
Yes.
Not saying this is a terrible schedule because it's not, but it could have been a lot better. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really surprising to see how, especially like Cincinnati and Indiana's in the world, have kind of done.
I mean, that was good local scheduling. It just hasn't worked out the way they thought it would.
Absolutely. Looking at their schedule here, 4, 5, 6. They have 7 quadrant 1 games left.
Ooh. Wow.
They do play Baylor on a neutral site next weekend. Again,
Yeah.
love that we have all these random neutral site games. This is awesome. Wake Forest is quad 1 today. NC State at home on Monday. And then you've got Baylor, SMU, both Q1. North Carolina at Clemson, Syracuse at home, Miami, Florida on the road. I mean, that's a tough schedule to close. However, let's say they pick up 2 more wins here. I'm going to have a hard time seeing them fall out even if they lose the rest.
Yeah.
I may wait for 3 with Louisville, but they're very close to being in the tournament without any other issues.
I think I have 3, maybe 4, but they might be able to do it with just the 3. NC State at home, Georgia Tech at home, Syracuse at home would probably be enough.
Agreed.
Because even then, you're still picking up at least one more pretty decent win over NC State.
Absolutely.
The Baylor game might actually end up being a road game because it's in Fort Worth.
As of now, it's classified neutral, so we'll leave it there. But yeah, that'll be interesting to see how they classify that. If it's in Fort Worth, it's not Waco, so it'll be interesting. I don't know exactly the mileage there, but if it's 50 miles, it'll count. So we'll have to see what happens. The NCAA should put something out about that in the near future here to make us aware of everything.
Yeah.
All right, moving along here, let's talk a little bit about NC State. Suddenly, they're in a really good spot and look much better than they did maybe even 2 weeks ago.
I had them in good shape, and they are about this close to being a near lock.
Yeah,
for me.
I have them up there in the near lock. I mean, they've got Virginia Tech at Louisville, Miami, Florida at home, North Carolina at home, at Virginia, at Notre Dame, Duke, Stanford to close the year out. You win 3 more games and you're in.
Yep.
Pretty clearly. So that's why I moved them up there. They're in a good spot. They're currently projecting around the 7 or 8 seed for me. It's a good resume at this point. You've got 2 quad 1A wins and you're in a good spot.
And they don't even really have the opportunity to take some kind of like terrible loss either.
Like even Stanford at home is it's Q3, but like that's not Georgia Tech or Boston College.
Right.
Like the committee does, and I've seen some things on Twitter this week about how the committee's looking at specific games rather than just quadrant records this year and really trying to emphasize that. So they're going to see that Stanford's better than some of these other Q3s,
right.
even if they would lose it. Not saying they will, but they've got some wiggle room.
I mean, when Q3 at home goes from 76 all the way to 159,
you have
going to be, yeah. So yeah, they any combination of 3 wins, and it depending on who it comes again, even 2 might be enough.
Agreed.
You know, like if they pick up a Louisville or a Carolina, that would probably be enough to say only one other win would be good. Will be needed.
Absolutely. Moving now towards our good shape team, SMU here, just kind of hovering.
Just can't seem to get up there, you know?
I just feel like they kind of defaulted into this spot. They're doing what they have to get in, but they're not doing anything to make it super comfortable for themselves.
Yeah.
Louisville and NC State, both back-to-back losses hurt. But their schedule opens up a little bit now. Just 3 more quad 1 games. Pitt versus Notre Dame, at Syracuse, quad 1. Home against Louisville, quad 1. Boston College at home, at Cal is the final Q1 game. They close with at Stanford, Miami, Florida, and then at Florida State. I think 3 more wins probably gets them there, but that's going to be kind of maybe 4.
I have them needing 5, so
I'll go 4. That's assuming they pick up one of the 3 quad 1 games as well. If they don't, they probably will need 5 to get in. So we'll have to see what happens.
Just don't lose to Boston College at home.
Yeah, Boston College and Notre Dame, please beat them both. Make our lives easy, SMU.
Um,
Speaking of Miami, Florida, what are your thoughts on the Hurricanes?
don't like the resume. I mean, I love the fact that they're 17-5, but
It is very, very empty. We talked about Nova and Iowa and some
yeah,
of these other teams being empty.
yeah.
This is like bare cupboard, awful empty. Best wins are at Wake Forest and at Syracuse. Neither of those two teams are even on the page.
Yep.
And those are your two Q1 games. Yeah, they're Q1, but they are very much so tucked in the back end of Q1 and might fall. I mean, Wake is 5 spots from falling. Syracuse is 6. So those could both end up Q2 by the end of the year.
And sometimes you look at like Q2 and you see some teams like, I don't know who might fall into Q2, that like a Wisconsin or an Auburn or something like that is clearly a pretty good team, but just hasn't gotten their predictors up high enough that are like, oh, those are wins against tournament teams. The Q2 wins are Ole Miss, Notre Dame, and Georgetown.
Yep.
None of them are anywhere close. So, they don't even really have a win over a team being considered for the tournament. And on top of that, they lost to Florida State at home and just lost to Cal at home.
Yeah.
Not that Cal isn't a decent team and may make the tournament, but it was at home.
But or it's an okay loss, but it's at home. You really should have beaten them. I'd feel a lot better had they done that.
I mean, Miami just went, 1-2 at home recently against Florida. In their last 3 games at home, they lost to Florida State and Cal and beat Stanford.
Yep.
By single digits.
Yep. However, they do have the nice record of 17-5.
Yeah.
Their resume metrics are 36, predictives are 38. Technically, they have 3 quad 1 wins, even if they're not tournament level wins. They're going to be okay for now. But yeah, I do agree. There's some trouble, and they only have 2 quad 1 wins. Apologies, I don't know why Torvik's site is showing 3 quad 1 wins. I don't think it's updated with the updated net. They'll be okay as long as they don't take a bad loss, but they probably need 5 or 6 wins to get there.
I have them needing 5, so yeah.
So more to come with them. It'll be interesting to say the least.
Yes.
All right. California, currently in my field. They are one of the last teams in. They would be playing in Dayton currently. Predictive metrics is 65, resume of 43. I love that their resume is higher than their predictive because resume, again, will get you in. Predictives will help get you seated, but resume will get you in.
So I was fairly impressed that they just went 2-1 on the road of playing Stanford, Florida State, Miami. I know it's not the top of the ACC, but 3 straight road games is never fun, and to get 2 of the 3 I thought was really crucial. Those are their first 2 wins on the road.
Yep.
Good start.
Yeah.
And now
Miami on the road is a win over a bubble team at their place.
Yep.
That resonates with the committee when it comes time to select these bubble teams.
And then they followed it up, beat Georgia Tech. It wasn't easy, but they got the win, and now they have a big chance against Clemson. You win that game, and you start moving further up. So, and Clemson's their schedule is not particularly tough the rest of the way.
That was, yeah. After Clemson, which I do want to add, Clemson's kind of that stereotypical Q2 game that feels like a really good win that we were just talking about with Mike.
Yep.
And Clemson, Cal gets that today. They are at Syracuse, at Boston College, and then they get Stanford, SMU, Pittsburgh all at home, and then Georgia Tech, Wake Forest on the road to close out the year. Let's say that they probably need 5 more wins, maybe 6. But I think they can lose both of the quad 1 games and still get in the field at this point.
I have them needing 5 to 6 wins, so there you go.
I like when we agree. It's easier that way.
Yeah.
Finally, the last team we'll touch on out of the ACC is Virginia Tech. I do know that Stanford is on the page. Stanford has not recovered their injury, and I think they're done. So I'll probably kick them off after this weekend. Virginia Tech, resume metrics 45, predictives is 64, almost exactly the same as Cal. However, they're 0-3 in Quadrant 1A, where Cal has the one Q1A win. And then Virginia Tech is 2-6 in Quadrant 1, and then 4-1 in Quadrant 3 with that one bad loss. That bad loss is keeping them out of the field for me at this time.
Yep. And it's only it's only Stanford by a few spots, but still there isn't much to say other than the Virginia triple overtime win that this is a tournament team.
And that over the triple overtime win is why they're even considered at this point.
Yep.
To be very blunt.
Of their 5 Q2 wins, 4 of them are Q2B.
Yep.
So not even really the higher end of the Q2.
Yeah, and I know we don't reference Q2B a lot, but that is kind of the same as the Q1A versus Q1B. It's that bottom tier of the quadrant.
Yeah.
Good for them, though. They get at NC State, at Clemson, and then they host Florida State. They're at Miami. They host Wake. They're at North Carolina. They host Boston College, and they finish with at Virginia. That is a gauntlet of a schedule, but it opens you up to getting some good wins, even though a lot are on the road.
I think I had written earlier this week that Virginia Tech really needs to pick off one of these road games against NC State or Clemson.
They probably have to. Yeah, I mean, they don't have a Q1 game that's not on the road. Do you think that they're going to be able to go into Virginia or North Carolina and beat them? Because I don't think so.
Oh, Virginia or North Carolina? Probably not, no.
So then you're looking at NC State, who has been suspect at home. Clemson, who up and down all year, so that's absolutely possible. And then at Miami, who's a bubble team. So you've got to win at least one of those, if not two. And then you have to beat Florida State, Wake Forest, and Boston College at home.
Yes, for sure.
So at a minimum 4 wins, you're probably going to need 5 to get in.
Yep, I think they'll need one more. So maybe they need 2 out of 3 between NC State, Clemson, and Miami.
Sounds like they do, unless they're going to go pick off.
Unless they're going to beat North Carolina or Virginia, right?
If they could do 4 if they beat North Carolina or Virginia. They're going to need 5 if it's NC State, Clemson, Miami type of wins.
Yep.
And again, for those of you listening, we are not going to project how many wins you're going to need in that conference tournament.
No,
we're not
doing that.
Game. I know good and well we're going to be sitting here on March 7th in a month doing that exact thing, but we're not going to do it yet. And realistically, the field is pretty much selected by the time your conference tournament starts.
It is way too early to start projecting forward into a conference tournament.
You know how many times I get asked, though? At least once a day I have fans asking, add in my conference tournament, what am I going to need? And I'm like, no, we're not doing this.
Virginia Tech could finish 9th or 10th in the ACC and be playing Boston College or Georgia Tech, or they could finish 8th and be playing Cal in their first game in the ACC. I have no idea who they're going to play.
Exactly. So there's no reason to even sit here and try to project tournament. I just wanted to add that because I know somebody listened and then had DM'd me earlier this week, and I appreciate the question. And yeah. I wish that conference tournaments were a little bit more utilized, but they're not. And I'm just trying to use that as an educational piece. As we wrap up today, I've pulled up 10 games here. I want your thoughts on what are the games of the day, anything that I missed on this sheet that you wanted to mention, anything that stands out to you as critical, anything like that?
I think at least from the leagues that we discussed, not really. When we end up eventually discussing the SEC, maybe we'll discuss Georgia a little more, but maybe they'll make that somewhat moot this, in the next few days. We'll see. Florida versus Texas A&M should be very interesting.
That is a battle for first place in the SEC.
Yeah. And Texas A&M, at least for the past month or so, has looked very much like a tournament team and a pretty dangerous one. Yeah. I mean, they went on the road and got a win and very nearly beat Alabama on the road too. That is a team that's really turned around their season trajectory. In November, December, they looked like they were going to be hanging out with Mississippi State and South Carolina.
Absolutely.
So quite a turnaround there. Illinois, Michigan State. I think Illinois is actually going to win that game.
If 8 to 10 points. Game, we will have legitimate Illinois conversations at that point. It's going to be tough. The bracketologist in me kind of wants Illinois to win for chaos, but also my life would be so much easier if Michigan State wins that game.
Boise State, New Mexico out west will be fun. New Mexico kind of licking their chops after taking down the chin against Utah State. I was not expecting that kind of a margin.
Not at because they did that. They won it by what 20 at
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Pitt. You don't see that.
yeah.
So yeah, I was very shocked as well. That Houston BYU matchup should be as elite
Yep.
kind of environment as well tonight at 10:30.
We're still waiting for BYU to pick up that big, win to vault them higher up into the seed range, and at least for me to lock them. I mean, they're going to be fine, but
They're going to
they
make
might.
it. They're making it difficult on all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alabama, Auburn, the battle of the teams that have a decent amount of losses but played a really, really tough schedule.
Yeah.
Duke and North Carolina, you can't not discuss that. I mean, I think Duke's going to win the game. I think overall they're just a better offensive and defensive team, and typically that wins the day, but you just never know with those teams.
I mean, you get this game at North Carolina. It's crazy. It's the first time Boozer's going to be in an environment like this. I'm not saying that Boozer's going to be scared of the environment because he's not. But this is a whole different level of chaos and energy. And yeah, there's no telling what will happen here.
We will know a lot more about Nova and Georgetown after tonight.
Yes. By 2 p.m., 2:30 p.m. today, we will know if Georgetown's got a shot, I think. Kentucky and Tennessee, gotta make sure we mention that one. Obviously, huge rivalry matchup. It'll follow the Duke UNC game. Really intrigued to see how Kentucky does at home. Also, really intrigued to see how Tennessee does. Both teams kind of treading water there in the middle of the seed list. I'd like to see both of them win here. So this is big for both teams.
Tennessee has won 4 in a row. They're starting to look better.
Yeah.
As opposed to the type of team that can just beat Houston but lose to Syracuse. They've looked much more consistent lately.
Yeah. And pulling up real quick my seed list. Tennessee before this, like on Monday of this week, they were a 5 seed. They're probably still on that 5 line, but this is the kind of win that would move them to a 4 seed. So yeah, this is a huge matchup, and we're up. It's a day to kind of
especially if Michigan State doesn't beat Illinois.
Yes.
If
Michigan State loses, who's already flirting with that 4 or 5 seed area, this would be rough. Go ahead.
And I don't know what's going to happen with Gonzaga the rest of the way, but boy, losing to Portland, forget a 1 seed now.
Yeah. I think a 2 seed's probably out of the question for them. That's too bad of a loss. The top of the bracket's too good. And first win for Portland over a top 10 team in years. They had done it back in like the 30s or 40s, but they hadn't done it since. So amazing win for Portland. It was awesome.
Gonzaga may need to go the rest of the way and maybe only lose a game, maybe either in the conference championship or before, and then go on to win it if they still want to be a protected seed.
Absolutely.
Because as they kind of scheduled names in the offseason, and some of those, kind of like what happened with Louisville, just haven't turned out to be what they thought they would be.
Absolutely.
The Kentucky win is getting better. The Alabama win is kind of depends on the day, how good that win looks. And then it's kind of like Oklahoma and Creighton and
I mean, you scheduled good names, but just out, so it happens.
Which isn't their fault. It's just kind of the way things turn out sometimes. I mean,
and that's why they're moving to the Pac-12 because they need more consistent names in the conference, and that's life as a mid-major team. If you schedule names and they don't work out, you're screwed, and that's what happened to Gonzaga.
And the San Franciscos of the world in the WCC, kind of like UNLV in the Mountain West and Richmond in the A10, frustrate you so much by the fact that they can go out and maybe get a pretty good win and then lose to the bottom of the conference.
Yeah. So Gonzaga is definitely a team to kind of keep an eye on. I think there could be some drastic movement week to week with Gonzaga. They were a 3 seed for me on Monday before Portland. They will absolutely be a 4 seed when I put out my next bracket. They might be a 5 depending on how everything works. I don't know that I'm going to be able to get them down that far, but they will absolutely be on the 4 line.
Before we kind of wrap up, do you want to touch on Miami, Ohio, and what and like the Akrons of the MAC and what's going to happen this weekend as far as their games against the Sun Belt Conference?
So great call out with the SBC and MAC challenge. I love that they're doing this. However, I don't love that Miami of Ohio got Marshall and Akron got Troy. I understand why they did it, but you've got to get Miami down to Troy to play that game.
Yep.
It's almost malpractice from a standpoint of how it was worked out. That being said, Miami is 23-0, or 22-0, sorry, and absolutely looking like the best team in the MAC still. They picked up their hardest win that they had left against Buffalo this week. They ended up winning by 2 in yet another close, amazing game. I don't know how much longer the Magic can keep going. At Marshall is definitely the toughest game remaining on the schedule. And they get it today, this afternoon. We'll find out more after that. It's Q3. It's not going to help them. I realistically don't think that Miami's going to get an at-large bid. And I hate to say it, I am absolutely a proponent of nobody wanted to schedule them and they got screwed, but I think that's just where we're at right now.
I think the best case is that, they lose to Akron in the championship, because Akron is a pretty darn good team too. And they may, when all is said and done, be the better of the two teams. I don't know. But
metrics would agree with that for sure. Predictives and everything kind of lean towards Akron over Miami. I hate that they don't get to go to Akron this year. I saw them play Akron in January at Miami. It was a great game. I really wish we could get that again. But
final thing I'll say on this is I hope that in the next year or two that some of these mid-majors will create kind of like February old bracket buster thing of like top 100 teams and have like some like mini like MTEs of like 4 different teams that are kind of in the top 100 to play each other. Just keep a couple non-conference games open and just try, kind of see where it's trajecting forward and just kind of start to schedule them, late January.
And wait don't schedule them in the middle of November like they did with the ACC Challenge. Like, let's do
it.
Like, give me, I don't know, let's say St. Louis and Utah State playing. Or St. Mary's playing San Diego State, or Miami playing New Mexico. Like, these games would help both teams. And there would be no more discussion on if Miami's good. They would get their opportunity.
And that may be their only way moving forward. If the Miami Ohio's, when they call up Cincinnati or Ohio State or whoever, and they're like, you're just too good. I'm sorry, not too good, but too good to play to risk.
You're not a bye game, but you're not a marquee game for me. You can only. I get why high majors don't do it. If you bring Miami in and you lose to them, it looks bad. If you don't bring Miami in, it looks bad. Like, it's a lose-lose for them. I'm sorry, but the way the schedule's set up right now is very high major heavy. But I'll be in Miami on Friday for their game against Ohio. I'm hoping they'll be undefeated headed into that. And it should be an awesome
Battle of the Ohio's, huh?
Battle of the Ohio. It'll be a fun game. It's completely sold out, and pretty excited to go up and see the arena and the environment that they'll have up there. With that, guys, it's going to be a crazy day. I know a lot of you are probably listening to this while games have already tipped off. So thanks for listening, and we will be back soon. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.